Hey folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. Unfortunately, the world of pro wrestling has lost another legend. Bushwhacker Butch Miller has passed away at the age of 78. As the information was released by his longtime tag team partner, Luke Williams. And some of you might remember, if you're old school like myself, Butch Miller and Luke Williams were originally the Sheepherders. They were also joined in that venture eventually by Lord Jonathan Boyd. And I never knew this until tonight. I just read on the Bushwhackers Wikipedia page. Apparently, the flag bearer, Rip Morgan, was the nephew of Butch Miller. So I didn't know that until tonight. I just did some research, basically the Wikipedia page of the Bushwhackers. But I remember, and I would recommend that. It's pretty interesting reading about the various members of the Sheepherders, and then of course the Bushwhackers over in the WWF, where to give them credit, they probably had their biggest fame and probably their most consistent paydays. They were there from 1988 through 1996, and they'd return on occasion to the WWF. They were veterans at that point. They'd probably do more of comedic type of matches and scenarios. They worked with a guy named Jameson, if you remember him. He's actually Jameson I met once. I met all three of them at different points, Jameson and the Bushwhackers, Luke and Butch. But I just want to share some memories. Like I said, do you remember this? If you can look it up, I don't know if there's a full match online, but the Fantastics and the Sheepherders had these barbed wire bloodbaths in the Mid-South area, the UWF, kind of right when the Mid-South was becoming the UWF, probably shortly after that change, when they had these and these barbed wire matches were brutal. I think they even, the way that I remember, they took the ropes out of the ring and put up like this wood and barbed wire cage, and there was maybe 5 or 10 minutes of one of these matches on the weekly syndicated show, and even that was bloody. Later on, I think it was late. I guess it was late 1987. The Sheepherders at that point, Luke and Butch, defeated another favorite tag team of mine from that era, Tim Horner and Brad Armstrong, the Lightning Express. Defeated them. And then I think famously after they won that title, they were doing an interview with Missy Hyatt, and I think they licked her face, which was very funny. So even when the Bushwhackers were the Sheepherders, and even though they were rough and tough rule breakers and hated villains, they still had a sense of humor, which was kind of fun because a lot of teams or a lot of heels back then didn't really have humor, but certain people like Terry Funk or Jim Cornette or the Sheepherders, they had some humor even though they were villains. But yeah, just I'll tell you about the time that I met these guys. I was a young guy. I had, unfortunately, this was a summertime day. I had just gone to a funeral earlier in that day, which was a sad story. But me and my friend Colin took a ride to this place called the Secret Cove, which was this place in Virginia where they had wrestling matches. They had, I believe it was Maryland Championship Wrestling would come in. I think that was the group. And they would, I think Cue Ball Carmichael was the promoter. And I just went up there and I kind of talked my way into getting, saying that I wanted to be potentially a manager for this group, a heel manager or a ring announcer or something. They actually let me in the back, and I got to meet the Bushwhackers, and they were just really nice guys. Luke and Butch were just really friendly. I do remember that Butch was kind of the spokesman of the two. And as I was saying to my friend earlier, Butch, no disregard or disrespect to Luke Williams, but Butch Miller always kind of felt like the hawk of the Sheepherders or the Bushwhackers. Like when you thought of, the Bushwhackers, I tended to gravitate to think of Butch first. He just was a little more animated and maybe shorter. And I think was it the 1989 Royal Rumble where Butch comes in doing the Bushwhacker walk. He gets into the ring and then he kind of immediately gets thrown over the top rope. Who threw him over the top rope? Was that the One Man Gang or Akeem or somebody? But there's just a really hilarious moment where he's bushwhacking in. He gets sailed over the top rope, and then he just bushwhacks out. I mean, it's bringing a smile to my face. And look, you know me, I'm not the guy who likes comedic wrestling. The deplorable comedic wrestling we've seen in the last 10 or 15 years with I don't even want to mention these people or their antics, but some of the people in the last 5 or 10 years of wrestling's kind of died down a bit with some of the things we've learned about some of those comedic people. But my point is, the sheepherders were not like that. The bushwhackers, comedic but not deplorable. In other words, good guys. So yeah, it's interesting. It's a time of transition. Obviously, earlier today I watched the whole Vince McMahon interview about the WWE kind of being acquired by Endeavor. Interesting. Tonight I'm going to take a WWE free night. I'm going to watch the NCAA final championship game, and I'm going to watch some sheepherders. I just found on YouTube the sheepherders' first match in the United States. I didn't realize these guys started wrestling, I believe it says in 1966. Once again, credit to whoever contributed to their Wikipedia page. It says Luke and Butch started wrestling as the Kiwis for NWA New Zealand in 1966. So that's quite a career. I mean, it's just amazing. It was nice to see that these guys were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, and they both were there. They were a little worse for wear, but I mean, that's the thing, folks. You just learned that some of our heroes, they're going to get older, like everybody does. Father Time is undefeated. If you happen to be watching this, I put the link to the Wikipedia page for the Bushwhackers. I just thought it was a good read. But if you're wondering, hey, Mike, what matches should we look up of the Sheepherders or the Bushwhackers? I'd probably say if you can find that tag team title match, the Lightning Express, Brad Armstrong and Tim Horner, sometime around October, November 1987 against the Sheepherders, look for that. I'd be curious if there's any full matches of the barbed wire blood matches between the Sheepherders and the Fantastics. That would be amazing to find that. The Bushwhackers over in the WWF as the Bushwhackers, I'd say they probably had some good stuff. I would say them against the Rougeaus. I want to say WrestleMania 5. That was a good match. And I'd like to see if there's any other matches with Tully and Arn, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, because apparently they actually defeated Tully and Arn many times on the house show circuit. So I'm sure there's some type of old school WWF Philadelphia Spectrum or Madison Square Garden tape of that. So yeah, it's just it's another sad day. The Sheepherders were also in the 1986 and 1988 Crockett Cups. They did quite well, I think, in both of those cups. They won matches. I believe it says they defeated the Guerreros, Hector and Chavo Guerrero, and then the Rock and Roll Express. They defeated them in 1986's Crockett Cup, and then I think in '88 they also got pretty far in there too. So whether it's the Sheepherders or whether it was the Bushwhackers, Butch Miller, Luke Williams had a great run. Like I said, the one time that I got to meet these two guys, they were very nice, and it's just another sad story, but it makes you appreciate life for what it is and try to get the most out of it, and be whacking for the Bushwhackers. Mike Messier, One Pro Wrestling Fan.